Welcome to Mocktails with Sarah Morgan. I'm Sarah, your host, head of nutrition innovation at Rootine, clinical nutritionist, and today we have Cristina DeHart. She is an actress, model, mom of two, happily married, and 50 and thriving. Welcome today, Cristina.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. So you have an interesting story. We talked before this, and you really had a pretty dramatic change in your health at age 45. Tell us about that. What did you experience?
I did. It was really scary and transformative. Basically, I just started to not feel well, and it came at certain times in the month. And I would be basically debilitated. You know, I had to stop working for a while. And I went to what I call doctor spinning, where you're just literally going from one specialist to the next without a lot of answers. And it was really frustrating, but most of all, scary.
Yeah, I bet. I have seen that so much working as a clinician, that women hit their 40s and you know, it's kind of like we run our RPMs in the red zone, and then all of a sudden, as hormones start to shift and we've been stressed, maybe we don't sleep well enough for a while, that, you know, we start to feel maybe more anxious, depressed, and our energy's low. Maybe we're more irritable, we're not sleeping as well, gut issues, skin issues, all these things start to creep up, and it's like, what's wrong with me, right? Yeah. And I don't think we talk about that enough as a society, as women. So let's talk about what we're sipping on today. This is Routine's Sleep Drink Mix. It is a really neat blend of 5 different adaptogens, magnesium and L-theanine, really common ingredients a lot of people have heard of that help with calming response to our nervous system. It also contains myo-inositol, phosphatidylserine, and GABA that are additional helpers to get really great quality sleep at night.
Yeah, and it tastes amazing.
What would you say at this stage of life are some of the biggest health problems women are facing?
Well, in my demographic, which is 50 and over especially, I would say even like starting 40s, is just that I don't think women are really listened to by doctors. You know, we power on because we're moms and we have to keep going and doing and fighting in the workforce and, you know, working at home and doing everything. And we somewhere have lost our voice. So sometimes I felt like invisible, like when I would go to the doctor. And I think that's the biggest problem that women face, is that they're not seen. And so they're not told to listen to their bodies. And when they do, something's wrong with you because they don't have the right answer. You know, so they're giving you antidepressants or anti-anxiety, and they're pushing all of these pharmaceutical drugs at you, which I think there are a lot of pharmaceutical drugs that are very worthwhile, but it's not the first thing we should go to. We got to find the root cause, and that's what bothered me. I was looking at a box of medication. So instead of putting all these things together and figuring out the root cause, they wanted to treat all the symptoms, and all those medications were causing more problems. So I just wasn't happy with that. So I kept going. But I find a lot of women just take the medication and stop.
Yeah, we have this message in our society now of like power on as a female, right? When really we need to be in tune with our body, listen to the signals, even measure things, right? With labs like you're talking about, and make sure that we really are understanding the needs, the unique needs that we have, and that they're met at this stage of life and every stage of life, because it's different. So in terms of some of the things that are really important foundationally for health at this stage of your life, and women who are entering their 40s, 50s, 60s, you know, we talked a little bit about longevity, vitality, these things of, you know, feeling good going into these seasons and decades of your life. What do you think are some of the most foundational pieces for people to focus on?
When I turned 50 last year, I always say that my brain went through a transformation or some sort of evolution or something. And I was no longer thinking of everything I need to do in the present. It was more like, what are these next 30 years, hopefully 40 years, going to be like? And how do I want to be vital in that time? And what can I do now? You know, I think this is a pivotal time. I always say that what you do with your body now between 50 and 60 is going to determine those last 20 years.
Yeah, I think as we get older, we start to think about preventative and being proactive about our health versus, in our 20s, maybe teens, even our 30s, we're a little more reactive. It's just life happens to us. And I think it's really powerful to shift that mindset to start saying, what can I do to set myself up for really good health? When I work with clients, the big thing that I look at, there's some pillars to health, and a big one is sleep, right? Sleep, we spend a third of our life asleep, and it is one of the most important things you can do for brain health, to your point. And yes, a woman's brain does change in her 40s and 50s, so you're right in feeling that. But it allows us to repair, it gives us our ability to process our emotions of the day. It is the thing that allows our brains to detoxify. So we discovered something called the glymphatic system in our brain, that when we sleep deeply, we actually kind of clear out all the garbage inside of our brain. And these are things where you wake up the next day and it's like, I'm ready to take on the day. I feel good, my body feels good, I'm not achy. I don't feel like I'm carrying around the weight of the world emotionally. And a lot of us don't really know, I think, how to measure sleep or what does that actually mean to have a good night's sleep. You recently got a wearable, right?
I did.
And I want to hear about it. So tell me your story with you have a Fitbit, you're wearing it today.
I do, and sadly I got it last Christmas from my boys. And my younger son was like, Mom, you haven't worn what we got you for Christmas. And so I pulled it out, and it is very interesting, the data so far. I don't sleep well. That I know, based on what I'm seeing. And I thought I was doing better with that, so that surprises me.
Because you were having trouble sleeping. That was one of your symptoms, right? You were waking up around 2 a.m., 3 a.m., having a hard time falling back asleep. That became a consistent problem.
Yes.
Got a little bit better. You were thinking, okay, so I have some nights where I'm sleeping through the night.
Yes.
So what did your Fitbit show you? What are you learning about your sleep?
Basically that I'm not sleeping nearly as well as I thought I am. So.
Which is surprising, right? When you think maybe you're sleeping through the night, it's like instead of waking up at 2 a.m., maybe you're, going through the night, but then you look at your Fitbit and in terms of what we call sleep efficiency, of how well your body is working, because your body does work while you sleep at night. It's just different than when we're awake, that we realize, oh, maybe my body isn't effectively doing the things it needs to do while you're sleeping at night, which is maybe why you don't feel as well during the day.
Or you're waking up tired.
Yeah,
and then it just starts to, okay, well, I wake up tired, so then I need more coffee, and then it kind of perpetuates this, bad pattern.
When we don't sleep well, it's really interesting how it can impact our mood, right? We can feel more anxious, more depressed, our energy levels suffer. Another really interesting thing is it impacts our hunger hormones. So when we sleep less, we actually want more junk food throughout the day, and we consume more calories that can lead to weight gain, which is really common in our 40s and 50s as women and as men too. So sleep really is the most important thing that you can focus on. And really excited at Rootine. We designed this adaptogenic drink mix to really optimize the sleep cycle in all of the different stages. So we have light sleep, we have REM sleep, which is like our therapist. We process all of our emotions, all of the events of the day. Deep sleep, which is how we repair at a physical level. We detoxify our brain. And what's really cool is we can watch how these sleep metrics improve on our wearables. You have a watch, I have a ring, and it's really fun to be able to see how things change. We actually, during our research and development phase, took people who didn't sleep well, and I would work with them with their wearable devices to say, okay, take this dose of one of our ingredients. One of them is something called phosphatidylserine. It's a phospholipid that helps with deep sleep. And I had some doctor friends who are, they're stressed out, they don't sleep well, and they started taking these ingredients and their sleep metrics improved where their deep sleep doubled within 7 to 10 days. So the cool thing is your sleep can get better. And it's a very hopeful message. So what do you do in terms of some of the other things throughout your day that help you sleep? Have you identified any kind of sleep hacks or improvements for your sleep?
No, not really. I've kind of tried a lot of different types of supplements, like melatonin, and it worked for a short period, but then didn't.
Well, one thing that's going to be helpful is for you to be using this adaptogenic drink mix on a regular basis. And what's neat is we'll be able to see, because now you have before data, that you can actually track and see how your sleep improves over time, which I'd love to follow up with you and watch that improve because I've seen it. We also will be conducting a randomized controlled trial with this product to watch how it improves sleep stages and sleep quality, which is exciting.
Well, I'm excited to see how it works.
Okay, so what about on the negative side? Have you identified anything that impacts your sleep negatively, even throughout your day, that you do, or?
One of my worst habits is watching television or watching, my screen, my laptop. And I hear that's like one of the worst things you can do.
Well, welcome to modern world. I think a lot of us watch shows at night. What I say is the back of your eye, your retinal cells are part of your brain. So they perceive light and the time of day. And blue light, which is from all these screens that we're exposed to, is great earlier in the day because it's stimulatory to our brain. It tells us to make the wakeful hormone cortisol, which cortisol is a stress hormone. It's also a wakeful hormone. It helps with our metabolic function. So we want that during the day. But then at night, we want cortisol to go down and we want melatonin. You mentioned taking melatonin. Your body makes melatonin and you want that to rise. So if you watch a show before bed, we do know with research that it actually decreases the amount of melatonin you produce and it will delay it. So you get that melatonin pulse later at night, which means you're a night owl, you wanna stay up. And then it's really common to wake up at 2, 3 a.m. because you're having a disrupted hormonal signal throughout the night. So simple trick is wear blue light blocking glasses. You can still watch your show.
Oh, yay.
You want to block the blue light and actually turn it into red light. So red light is something that will stimulate more melatonin production. And then another really great thing is some of the ingredients in this sleep adaptogenic drink mix have different ingredients that will stimulate more of that calming side of the nervous system in your brain so you can get restful sleep that is more efficient. So you wake up and you feel really good. So Cristina, when you were 45 and you were struggling with all of these kind of mysterious symptoms, what did you figure out it was? What was at the root of it?
After going to many specialists, I landed at Johns Hopkins. A lot of my symptoms were not characteristic of perimenopause, menopause. Like a lot of people say hot flashes and I don't even know that I've ever had one, but I had a plethora of other nausea, weight loss, not being able to sleep. I mean, just so many things that people don't realize are characteristic. And basically, I was able to replace estrogen, progesterone, and I was able to get rid of all of those medications. So it was huge. So that taught me that by looking at my results, I continue to test my blood for all levels, including vitamin levels, and it taught me that that paying attention to those things are so important to staying vital. We're in a completely different age. We have control over those things. Like 20, 30 years ago, it was just a dream. And we have it, and it's a huge tool that we should be using. And that's why I love Rootine. And the idea that came to me about Rootine, I was like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. I'm like, and when I went to a naturopath, it costs thousands of dollars. And in this, I can just review on my own. And so I'm excited to try this and see what it does and keep track of it.
Yeah, it's so powerful when we can put our health in our hands too, that we can be advocates. And it sounds like you've been an advocate for your health, which is amazing. I also would say women, it's interesting, we're somewhat taught now about our monthly cycles with hormones, to your point. One thing that I think is new that we're learning, the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 2017 was won on the topic of circadian health, which is our daily rhythms, not just for women, but also for men as well. And it's regulated by these major hormones, cortisol, melatonin that we've talked about. And it's interesting what the research is showing, that if we get our daily rhythms correct and optimized, it really will have an impact on our monthly rhythms of other hormones, the sex hormones of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone that you mentioned. So it's really interesting to think about managing our stress, getting good sleep, and how that can actually set us up for better overall hormonal health, whether you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s as a female. And what's really interesting as a little nugget of information is if you have high cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone, it is made from progesterone. So what happens is when you're making more and more and more cortisol, you're actually depleting your progesterone. And progesterone depletion is the thing that happens in perimenopause that leads to a lot of our irritability, our anxiousness, like things bother us that didn't bother us before. And it's harder to sleep because progesterone is used in the brain to calm us down and to get a good sleep cycle. So the better we can manage our daily rhythms, to your point, the better we can be set up for all of our hormonal health, which is an incredible thing, right? To take that and have the power back in terms of setting yourself up for these daily rhythms for optimal health. So what does vibrant health mean to you?
Vibrant health means to me getting up in the morning and being excited to do everything I need to do, not just dragging through the day and getting it done. Just being happy. I feel like my mood is improved. When I'm like ready to take on the day, I'm excited. But if I'm tired, that's not vibrant. It doesn't feel vibrant.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story about how you're pursuing vibrant optimal health.
And thank you for having me.
Cheers.
That is really tasty.
And it's so good.
So fruity. Now I'm gonna sleep on the way home because you kept filling it up and I'm like,
Okay. Yeah,
Don't
perfect.
Right.
Spray it in play. Okay. I didn't like rehearse this. My hand is cold. I don't. Yeah, it was just kind of like very la la la. I can do it again. It was a little boring. Did I say them all? All right, Corbin, we're almost there.
Live, baby. Hey,
Okay.
I'm here all day.
Do we need a little more? Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check.
check, check.
Live.
I like that.
Hair falling.
No, it's just like.
Sorry. I thought you were stopping.
I was like, did I do something wrong? She's like,
She was like, no, I'm part of the set.